You may be seated. I can still smell it. The door opens. The rush of that warm radiator air envelops my face against the cold outside. It's a rich, thick air, saturated with all the smells of Christmas: pine, clove, citrus, cooking food, potatoes, and a roast. The house is alive, even though it's dark outside. Lights twinkling from the tree and the mantle and the candles that are lit around the dining room table. And there's the warm hug from Graham, that sweater that always felt so scratchy to me, and her distinct combination of perfume and hairnet hairspray. The loving kiss of a grandmother to a grandson. Graham no longer comes to greet me at the door. She hasn't for many years. But when we sit down for dinner, I still feel her presence. Dad's grace always includes those who are in attendance and those who are not. She's always early in the litany of names. She's been gone that long. And yet, this is not a feast of mourning. It is a feast of new life. We pass the serving dishes family style: the meat, the scalloped potatoes, the asparagus, and that warm bread. It melts in my mouth and takes me back. The conversation on this night isn't as important as the people who are present. There are smiles and laughter, a full belly and eager anticipation. And then it's off to church, what used to be midnight mass before being tucked into bed for that restless 6 or 7 hours of sleep, during which a special guest would do his magic. We all have people in our lives who are not here this Christmas. To borrow Dickens, they are the spirits of Christmas past: grandmas and grandpas, friends, neighbors, moms and dads, sisters and brothers, daughters and sons. The spirits of Christmas past seemed to make Christmas what it was, but we still continue on in the face of change. That juxtaposition, sadness and nostalgia, sadness and nostalgia is a sign, it's a gift of the love that we have for our loved ones and that they have for us. All who have gone before are not gone forever. Their life is fully with God now. While we continue to see in a mirror dimly, they see face to face. Heaven is their home, where Christmas is celebrated every day. We are connected with our past through Christmas. That's why these feelings are so present, so accessible at this time of year. That ache of the heart, even a momentary ache, reminds us that Christmas is a bit different this year. And yet at some level, Christmas continues to be what it has always been. The smells and the lights and the food flood the memories back and awaken in us the spirits of Christmas past. This Christmas will be the first Christmas for my little 4-month-old niece, Anna. I'm an uncle for the first time. Barely able to comprehend the magnitude of this celebration, her traditions are just starting. The Christmases that lie ahead are pregnant with possibility. I can only imagine her own eagerness to open her first presents. I can picture her eyes growing wide at the wonder of a lit tree. I can see her broad smile as she walks into church with her mom and her dad to "O come, all ye faithful," as we did just a few minutes ago. She, Anna, is Christmas future. And while it may be a little different, it will still be the same Christmas. Lights will be hung, food will be prepared, presents will be wrapped, grandmothers and granddaughters will be embraced. The traditions of the Groff family will be passed down to little Anna with the same care and wonder as so many years before. This is the hope of Christmas. that though life is now different, we continue on, believing that new life is ours through the one born in the manger, that our past continues to help us know who we are, and that our future gives us the courage to share that with others. We are a resurrection people, after all. Those whom we have lost live on in the wide eyes of a child. And so here we are, you and me, sitting in church, maybe next to the ones that we've loved for years, or next to ones we've just met tonight. Our heart is full, and maybe even our stomachs. And the miracle of Christmas is that God has dared to come near to you and to me this night. God becomes flesh and blood, a baby whose family is just as hopeful in the infinite possibilities of a child. And yet, this is no ordinary baby, but the Savior of the world. His life changes everything. And his gift is his love. That sense of nostalgia in your heart is because of Christ's love. Yes, it is because of the other people in our lives, but those are the people whom God uses to wrap his arms around us and whisper in our ear, I love you. Christmas is about love incarnate, love embodied, not just some abstract concept, not just a fleeting feeling, but a person, a Graham, an Anna. God becomes one of us because he knows that we won't believe it unless we see it and taste it and smell it and feel it. Jesus is our Christmas through the loved ones who have gone before and through the loved ones we love so much who will come after. Jesus is the love of God, not just in our midst, but in our families and our friends, our traditions and our feasts, in our past and in our future, in our sorrows and in our hope. Can you still smell it? Can you still feel the warmth of the air rushing across your face? Whose loving arms are wrapped around you? Whose face do you see? That is Jesus. That is him. Jesus the Christ, being born in your heart this night. Please stand. We believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty.
When the world was dark and the city was quiet, you came. You crept in beside us, and no one knew. Only the few who dared to believe that God might do something different. Will you do the same this Christmas, Lord? Will you come into the darkness of today's world? Not in the friendly darkness as when sleep rescues us from tiredness, but in the fearful darkness in which people have stopped believing that war will end, or that food will come, or that a government will change, or that church cares.
Lord, we see it all.
Will you come into that darkness and do something different to save your people from death and despair?
Lord, we see it all.
Will you come into the quietness of our towns? Not the friendly quietness as when lovers hold hands, but the fearful silence when the phone is not rung, the letter has not come, the friendly voice no longer speaks, the doctor's face says it all.
Lord, we see it all.
Will you come into that darkness and do something different? Not to distract, but to embrace your people.
Lord, we see it all.
And will you come into that quiet place of our lives?
Lord, we see it all.
We ask not this because we are guilt-ridden, or we want to be, but because the fullness of our lives depends on us being open and vulnerable to you as you were to us. When you came wearing no more than swaddling clothes and trusting human hands to hold their master.
Lord, we see it all.
Will you come into our lives and do something different?
Lord, we see it all.
When the world was dark and the city was quiet, you came. You crept in beside us.
Do the same this Christmas, Lord. Do the same this Christmas. Amen.
The peace of the Lord be with you always.
And also with